Oh, there's Maharaj Dad. It's ready for Maharaj to share. Maharaj sharing is already enabled.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. It is 8 o'clock, Maharaj, so you can start now.
Oh, there's Maharaj Dad. It's ready for Maharaj to share.
Yes.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Janabalaba Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Vrija Naranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Shri Radha Madhava Asasaki Ki Jai
Prabhupada ki jai.
Chaitanya Chandradaya Mandir Ki Jai Narayanam Namaskrityam Narayanam Namaskrityam Dharam Chaiva Narottamam
Jaiva Narottamam
Devam Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udiraya
Tojam Udiret
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So it's 9 o'clock here, and we had no internet for about 14 hours, but it cleared up. And I have a little bit of some kind of fever or something. Doesn't appear to be any kind of COVID thing, but so I'm kind of carrying on here. And this is we've been joining the Hawaii program pretty much every Thursday, and before we were giving classes, and it's a small temple, but they have so many people attending. Ramananda, the director there, he contacts people and has a very, very nice, strong presentation like that. It's an example to all of us how even a small temple can be very effective in terms of number of people like that. So this was a class we did on Thursday. It's very, very nice. Srimad Bhagavatam, ISKCON Hawaii, Anjana Sudha Academy. Let me go ahead here and then close the camera because that will give us more bandwidth. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So Srimad Bhagavatam is composed of different stories, and the sages in Naimisharanya talking to Sutta Goswami, he talks about how Brahma talked to Narada, about Krishna consciousness. Then in the fourth canto, there's the story of Maharaj Prachinabharahi, and how Narada Muni tells him the story of Paranjana. And it goes on for maybe like 5, 6, 7 chapters. And this is one of the first times Kapila talks about the different elements like that before him with Devahuti. And of course, again, that's 4 or 5 chapters, and then Daksha Yagana. And each of these, we can look at them separately. They make very, very powerful meditations to change our heart, change our perspective. So, Nitya, can you repeat? Everybody else can repeat with their microphones closed, and that way we'll keep the bandwidth.
Yes, Maharaj.
Prachina Barhi Uvacha.
Prachina Bahari Uvacha.
Bhagavangste Vacho Ushmabir.
Bhagavatam Te Vachosmabir.
Na Samyaga Vagamyate.
Ha Samyak Avagamyate.
Kavayasta Vijananti.
Ayastat Vajananti.
Navayam Karma Mohitaha.
Navayam Karma Mohita.
So you chant and we'll respond.
Prachin Bahari Uvacha.
Prachina Barhi Uvacha.
Bhagavanaste Vachosmabir.
Bhagavan Te Vacho Ushmabir.
Na Samyak Avagamyate.
Na Samyaga Vagamyate.
Ayastat Vajananti.
Kavyastad Vijananti.
Navyayam na karma mohita.
Navayam Karma Mohita. Ladies can chant.
Hemlata, can you chant?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Danuttama. Yes, Prabhu. Prachinabhiruvacha
Prachinabhir
Bhagavamste vacha asmabhir
Bhagavanste Vacho Ushmabir.
na samyog avagamyate
Na Samyaga Vagamyate.
kavayastad vijananti
Kavyastad Vijananti.
na vayam karma mohitaha.
Navayam Karma Mohitaha. Another lady? Mother.
Prajanibiruvacha
Prachina Barhi Uvacha.
Bhagavamasante vacho sambhir
Bhagavanste Vacho Smabir.
Nasam yaga vagamayante
Nasamya
kavyasta tadvijananti
You, Maharaj,
navayam
chant.
karamohita
Kavayasta Vijananti.
navayam karma mohita.
Navayam Karma Mohitaha. Prachina Barhi Uvacha. Prachina Barhi said, Bhagavan, oh my Lord. Many times Narada Muni is called Bhagavan. And Prabhupada says it can be the Supreme Lord or also somebody who is specifically empowered by him. Usually, of course, it means Supreme Personality of Godhead, Godhood. Te, he says, your vachaha words, arshmabahi, by us. Bhagavan Sate Invacho Ashmabir, your words by us, na, never samyak, perfectly avagamyate, na samyak avagamyate, are not, we cannot perfectly understand. This is very, very basic concept. Arjuna, Krishna explains everything in the second chapter, but Prabhupada said, but actually it's not detailed enough, for him to do anything about it. So the third chapter, there's more questions, confusions, and then Krishna goes to explain things in terms of Varna ashram. All living beings exist on food grains come from rain comes from sacrifice comes from prescribed duties, and prescribed duties are described in the Shastra. Okay, so now Arjuna can understand what is his dharma, what is his duty, like that. But even still, so many questions come up again and again, and some for our benefit, some for for his own, because of his own situation. So this is quite common. And then Maharaj Bharata, he fell down, became a deer, and he became Jadabharat. Then he was left and went off walking. He met Maharaj Rahugana in the Himalaya mountains, something like that. Siberia. And then he explained the forest of material enjoyment to him. And then Maharaj Rahugana said, wow, it's very, very nice, but I don't exactly understand what you're saying. Can you say it again? So he explains it again. And he says, oh, now I got it. Then it cuts back to Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit, who are, Sukadeva Goswami is telling the story to enlighten Maharaj Pariksit. And Maharaj Pariksit says, I guess I'm even less intelligent than Maharaj Rahugana, because even the second time I didn't get it. Can you explain it again? Okay. Yeah. Prabhupada says at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, if Arjuna has any doubts, and Krishna is quite willing to start all over from the beginning, explain the entire thing again. So doubts are normal, but artificial doubts, because we're trying to avoid surrendering, that's what we when we take initiation, that's what we promise. If I have doubts, then I'll bring them up, and you'll answer them. And if you can't answer them, then I'm not obliged to follow. That's the agreement. It's not blind faith. I'm just agreeing to be an honest student, and to accept you as a professor. And if you can fulfill the job, and as long as you're teaching, I have to listen. Okay, na samyag abhigamyate. Kavaya, those who are expert, taught that vijananti can understand. Okay, never vayam we karma, fruitive activities mohitaha. Okay, but those who are bewildered by fruitive activities, they can't understand perfectly. So this is our situation. Now let's look at the translation here. Can you see the next slide? It's a verse synergy.
Yes, Maharaj.
Amazing. Okay. King Prachini Barhi replied, my dear Lord, we cannot appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story of King Puranjana. Actually, those who are perfect in spiritual knowledge can understand, but for us who are overly attached to fruitive activities, to realize the purpose of your story is very difficult. So it's not information, it's to understand why is he telling the story, that it's supposed to be a change in heart. And when we take this, we get a change in our attitude, our perspective, our bhava. Okay, it touches us. It's very important, not just that it's supposed to be some intellectual thing of acquiring knowledge. Understanding is the first level of that. We study the things, we get some logical understanding. That's the beginning of the Smaranam. So Narada Muni is trying to communicate something, a bhava, Puranas are doing. And he says overly attached to sense gratification. So it's okay to be attached to sense gratification, because unless we gratify the senses, we go and pay them, right? They're not going to work. They can't work. You have to have proper, nourishment and things like that. But it says sense gratification is like salt. You have to have the proper amount. And the other side is that when we start to become attached to fruity results for Krishna, Arjuna wanted to win the war. He wanted to defeat the others for Krishna. So this is overly attached or improperly attached. That was purpose. In Bhagavad Gita 7:13, Lord Krishna says, to go prastone trione. In the Vedas, there are three ways to establish your point, three sources that are necessary. The Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta Sutra, and the Upanishads. Prabhupada says that Upanishads are like the headlines in the Vedas. And if we can establish our point in terms of the Upanishads, it is very strong. So many times Prabhupada's using Bhagavad Gita. And if we just look these purports up, we'll find that they're connected. The same ideas are there, back and forth like that. In Bhagavad Gita 7:13, Lord Krishna says, Tribir Guna Mayayar Babayar Ebehi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabijanati Mame Biha Param Avyayam. Deluded by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, for I'm above the modes and inexhaustible. So there's nothing in this world. We turn away from Krishna, and maybe we turn away from his friends, his holy Dham, the activities, everything. We go into a comatose state in the body of Mahavishnu. And then when Krishna is so kind, he starts to animate the pradhan. It's like people in a mental hospital. He starts to show them sodium pentothal and starts to stimulate their different attachments and see what their problem is and so on. So then we see reflections of a wall, reflections of a blanket, reflections of a chair, reflections of an orchid. Somebody gave me an orchid, very nice. First time in my life I had an orchid. But what makes them seem real, even though they're reflections, is the mode of goodness, mode of passion and ignorance. So now I'm assigning this orchid like a history. Okay, yeah, it didn't exist. In the future, if I'm not careful, it won't exist. So the existence is there because of time. Time is how we are really caught in the material world. The mode of passion, we're planning things. The desiring, the mode of ignorance, we're fearing these different kinds of things. So we're bewildered by these things, but if we're here just chanting, we come in the sattva room. And pure goodness, we will realize that everything is just a reflection of the spiritual world. So chanting very good rounds of stuff, the more we begin to appreciate this, hearing the holy names. And then, of course, the more we can, in the neophyte stage, we can dovetail these things to Krishna's service by the deity worship. Okay, then they also take off their temporary effect. It becomes, cooking the offering becomes actually eternal activity. Okay. Deluded by the three modes of material world, the whole world does not know me, three modes of material nature. The whole world does not know me. I'm above the modes and inexhaustible. Prabhupada says, generally people are enchanted by the three modes of material nature, and therefore practically unable to understand that behind all the materialistic activities in the cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Okay. Generally, people are engaged in simple or pious activities. They are not perfect in knowledge of devotional service. So we're trying to get results. We're trying to avoid the bad results. But if we have knowledge of devotional service, then we can get satisfaction from that. Again, the allegorical story narrated by Narada Muni to King Barishman is especially meant to engage conditioned souls in devotional service. So it's not exactly like it is devotional service. Savai Pumsam, Paro Dharmo, Yato Bhakti Hokshaje, Ahoitaki Aptihata, Yayatma Supersidity. The best dharma for everybody is that which brings people. Savai Pumsam, Paro Dharma, Yati or Bhakti, which brings us to the Lord who is beyond the sense perception like that. That's the best religion. But it's not saying what it is, it's just saying the religion which really brings us to Bhakti Yoga, that's the best. So maybe we're 40% in Bhakti Yoga and we have 60% to bring to Bhakti Yoga. So the more we hear these stories and stuff about Paranjana, the more then we'll be inclined to start taking up Bhakti Yoga. Chanting with more attention, giving up unnecessary things, giving up fearing for our maintenance, so many things. The entire story, a story narrated allegorically, is easily understood by a person in devotional service. But those who are engaged not in devotional service, but in sense gratification, cannot perfectly understand it. That is admitted by King Barhishman. Yeah. So again, we're engaged with devotional service. It says for persons in devotional service. Okay. Worshiping the deities and everything else, and then the modes tell us, oh, don't do that, do this. But we're thinking, no, this is the time I have to cook for Krishna. I have to do this for Krishna. I shouldn't be thinking about cooking for my family. I should be thinking about cooking for the deities. Yeah. And then because we do this, we start to become detached, and we can actually experience what they're saying. It's a very, very like, what's the word, like, practical examples. He's not discussing, mitochondria and DNA and all these kind of things. He's talking about how the life airs in the body, and we can experience that myself. My Ayurvedic doctor, he was taking my pulse. He was laughing, telling the devotees, he said, Maharaj is adjusting his pulse by chanting. So we learn how to adjust the prana. And, for me right now, I have to keep a very, very level, kind of certain level of prana. Otherwise, my voice will become harsh and I can't talk. Everything else. But by doing it, okay, I can keep this machine in a proper consciousness for get the association of all the devotees here. So the life airs are like a snake in the city of 9 gates, and like the policeman, 5 life airs, whatever. So it's like a snake with 5 heads. And that policeman was quite competent to keep everything in order and to fight off different attacks by calling on other people. So Paranjana was living quite peacefully in the city there. And of course, the city of 9 gates, that's very easy to understand. We have 9 different orifices in the body, and how we go to different ones for different pleasures. And the intelligence, of course, is the material intelligence, which allows us to enjoy things in a civilized way, and therefore we can enjoy them longer and things like that. One time, Paranjana became crazy, and ignoring his queen, who was his intelligence, he went off hunting. And so this is when we just go hog wild and just forget everything and just throw ourselves into gratification and like bestial modes. Well, when he came home, his intelligence was disturbed by him. It was unhappy with him, his mind and intelligence. How could you do this? So he apologized and promised he would never do it again. So he's a very civilized person in many ways. I think I have more of this in the next slide here. Where's the... Prabhupada finishes by saying, this 29th chapter describes that by too much attachment for women, one becomes a woman in the next life. But a person who associates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative becomes free from all material attachments and is thus liberated. So here we have a picture of Clark Gable, who may be familiar to people of our generation, and Vivian Leigh. And of course, they were the stars in Gone with the Wind, which is, well, I know maybe it's been pushed off the scale now, but at the time and with adjustment for the money, what money's worth, it was and remained the biggest selling movie in the history of the world. If you look at the 2 pictures, like Clark Gable, you look at Vivian Leigh, they look so similar. So it's frightening how we're meditating on the opposite sex, and becoming stimulated for sense gratification. And this just reaches our heart very deeply. And so this Paranjana in his next life became a woman, but a very, very dignified woman, the daughter of a great king, and appreciating so much the austerities of her husband and everything else like that. So he was able to get out of it. Other than that, if we keep on going, our next lifetime, we may become gorillas, black or white gorillas. Other side here, we have a nice picture of Harinam Kirtan party, people associating with us the holy names and Srila Prabhupada by his service, his Hansaduta, and Mother Himavati, and Chakravarti Das, who was his commander-in-chief. And so as a result of that, what happens? You see, you go on with the same process, but now you're singing and dancing with Krishna. You know, more in Goloka, more directly, because the Harinam Sankran is the same thing, but we realize that we're just carrying on with Krishna and all these things. You know. This is Prabhupada's purport then, and we've summarized it here. What do you see now, the Tagore Sundar?
The Tarzan and Jane.
Yes, it's the same story again and again. Okay, Tarzan see Jane. Okay, Tarzan like Jane. Jane like Tarzan. Tarzan and Jane live in the city of 9 gates with Cheetah. Cheetah's the monkey here. Tarzan die. Jane never alive, can't die. So our intelligence never was alive in the first place. It's amazing. Okay, Tarzan become Jane and leave Bijou. So over here we have the Bijou Theater. Okay, which is we're all caught up in this stupid theater. Coca-Cola is the beginning. Be careful of Coca-Cola. And what are the movies playing? Can you read the movies that are playing that they go in there?
The Devil and Miss Jones.
And the other one?
Thieves Fall Out.
Yeah. It sounds exactly like the material world. The Devil and Miss Jones, Thieves Fall Out. You know, it's just, you know, we're caught in this stupid black and white movie watching it. You know, sometimes I'm Tarzan, you're was it Jane, and somebody else is Cheetah, and we switch the roles and go around again and again. But it's very, very nice. You know, the movie is giving such a fantastic description of the whole details like that. You know, and going through it with the yatra, and there in what's the place in Hawaii, again and again, each time it becomes more penetrating. And then once you come out of the theater, hey, she wakes up, the Paramatma talks to her, and she accepts it. Then you start to come into the real light, you know, which is color, and Krishna is there looking at us, wondering, where have you been? You know, Socrates says, when you come out of the theater, in the beginning, the light is too bright, so you can't see the details. So some way, once you realize there is a reality, you know, and it's all pervasive, Brahman, okay, in the beginning, it's just so incredible, but then you keep on going, and you realize, wow, that actually, even in spiritual life, there's variety, Paramatma. And then when you actually begin to, you know, use that variety properly, then there's Ananda, bliss. I think it's kind of our little presentation there. So any questions or anything anybody has, you know, about Tarzan and Jane or anything, or our own progressive spiritual development?
So Maharaj, getting out of this Tarzan and Jane mentality, we need to hear more and more Bhagavatam stories and Prabhupada purport.
We can organize the whole thing with you. We can organize dramas and those kind of things. Yeah, hearing, singing, dancing, and drama. And the more we put them into forms of dramas and things like that, the more it penetrates. The story becomes so intense like that. In the very beginning, Prabhupada wanted to do theater, you know, and do dramas of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and so on. Of course, we put these stories in modern language sometimes, and they're just so impactful. We tell the story of, we tell the story of Daksha and Sati. You know, we make it a Sunday feast, and then and even though I say, like, I would say 3 times, this never happened, this never happened, this never happened after it's over, still people think it actually happened, and they're calling their GBC secretary, oh my God, Hanuman Swami told us that in Italy, this girl burned herself to death in the Sunday feast. This was never happening when Prabhupada was here. So I stopped doing some of them. But it's exactly the kind of thing we expect. These stories are so relevant. You know, we're not karmis. You know, we're not vikarmis. Now we're bhaktas. You know. But what level are we on? How much more progress do we need to make? You know, talking to myself here more than anybody. You know.
Any other question or comment from Maharaj? Before Maharaj takes rest, is it already 9:30 Maharaj time? almost 9:30.
Manjari Singh, Nisagor Sunudas, Abhay Narayan, Darshan K Desai, Meena Singh's iPad, Nirja Singh, Rani Ji, Sandhya Singh, Saroj, Sashi Prakash Singh, Namaskar, Shri Radha Bahlabadas Tanu. Yeah. So nice to get your association again. We got Govardhan Puja. I think we talked a little bit about what's happening. But after that Govardhan Puja weekend, we did so much recording. We got the lights set up, had an electrician come hang everything else. And the what you call it, the director of photography, very nice person, young guy. He stayed with us for 4 nights, and he was getting up in the morning and reading the books a little bit. But he knew exactly what he was doing in terms of, filming the daily schedule and that kind of stuff, and had us repeat stuff and stand together, And so I think we already have our first round. We learned so much about what we can do and not do. And then now we're sending our schedule again, where it looks like, for sure, if we work out, we'll come back on the 7th of March to United States, and we'll stay in Houston for 10 days. And by then, everything should be arranged to do really, really good recording there with the Gurukula, the Goshala, the Brahmachari Ashram, the restaurant, the deities, the temple, and Gopurnima. And hopefully the director will be able to get everybody there really tuned up about how to record everything properly. And then maybe Abhishek, everybody can come. People have nice education symposium there along with it. And then go back to Nashville and then stay based there until July 15th. That's kind of the plan. We'll take Alihianti Airlines off to Boise maybe for 3 weeks again. It's $108 round trip, direct flight. At least it was. And the other side, maybe we can go over to Richmond on Alihiante, see everybody. Then Spain, if it works out, maybe we'll see Shunu Shamdashni personally until Kartik, it'll be July 15th to like October 15th. Then head on to Bengal, Manipur, and Delhi, Radhakunda, terminating everything there. So we're trying to consolidate all the work we've been doing and everybody else, because consolidating, putting it together. So when you come back in the next lifetime, you'll find it there. You can take it up again. Okay. So.
There's no other question or comment from Maharaj, so Maharaj, please take rest and hopefully we'll see you next Friday. Hemlata, you have a question, comment?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Happy to see you after a long time.
Oh, yes. That's what the wolf told Red Riding Hood.
I'm not the wolf.
Okay. Other people also say that. Yeah. Very nice, good association here. Okay, so Hare Krishna and be happy forever and make other people happy forever. And we'll now rest our Siddha Deha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maharaj.
Wow.
Where is Sridhar? He was here and is gone.
Maharaj, thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, Sridhar, where is he? Is he gone? So somebody has to chant and I have to do the Damodar Ashtak too. Vinaji, you don't have any idea where Sridhar gone? Nobody has any idea. Okay, who's
No,
going?
I don't have any idea what happened.
Yeah, he was there and he's.
Let's
Yeah,
have
so
Tanu Prabhu then. We haven't heard from him in a while, it seems
Okay.
like.
that I hope he has a good connection. Tandika Prabhu, let's start chanting and then Damodar Ashtak. 10 minutes chanting, yeah, and then Damodar Ashtak, please.
Yes, Prabhuji, are you able to hear me?
Hello, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, are you able to hear me, Prabhu?
Yeah,
Yeah, because here it's a heavy rain, so the connection is not good. So we can try, and then if it doesn't work, okay, then we can transfer to Hemlata Mataji.
okay.
We can take the service from her. Mataji, can you be my responder?
My pleasure. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mother. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatharani.
Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine
Prabhupada.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Prabhupada.
Pashtadeshatarine.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Advaita Gadadha
Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ramo 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada,
Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada
Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Dear Prabhu, can you lead on Madras, the Madrashtak or?
I will get to Meena. She's reading the phone. Just give me a second.
Namaviswaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat
You are unmuted, Tandika Prabhu. Can unmute yourself, please? Tandika Prabhu, are you muted? Hare Krishna.
I'm
That's the one.
pushing fast to unmute. There he is. There he is.
Okay.
Hello?
Namamishwaram. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashodabiyolukaladavamanam Paramrishtamadyantato Dhrityagopya Rudantamuhurnetra Yugmamrijantam Karamboja Yugmena Satankanetram Muhuswasakam Patrirekanka Stita Graivam Damodaram Bhaktibadam Iti Driksvalila Berananta Kunte Swagosham Nimajantam Akyapayantam Tadi Esita Kesu Bhakte Jitatvam Puna prematastam sata vritivande varam deva moksham na mokshavadim va nachanyam vraneham vareshadapiha idam teva purnata gopala balam Sada me manasya virashtam kimanna idam te mukambojam atyanta nilay vritam kuntalai snikta raktascha gopya muhus chumbitam bimba raktadaram me Manasya virashtam lakshalabai Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabodhuka Jalapti Magnam कृपा दृष्टिवृष्ट्यादि दिनं बतानु ग्रहनिशमामाज्ञम् इति अक्षिदृश्या कुबेरात्मजौ भक्तमूर्त्यैव यद्वात् त्वया मोचितौ भक्ति भजौ कृतौ च न मोक्षे ग्रहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरेह नमस्ति दाम्ने त्वदीयोदरायाद विश्वास्य दाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीय प्रियायै नमो नन्दलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमो राधिकायै त्वदीय प्रियायै नमो नन्दलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपम् लसत्कुण्डलं to the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who I, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding motor in fear of Mother Yashoda. But who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed? To that supreme Lord, Sri Damodara, I offer my humble obeisances. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To the Supreme Lord Sri Damodara, whose belly is bound not with ropes but with his mother's pure love, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and uplands that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodara hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bala, for what is the use to me of any other boon besides this? O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodara, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes. O Lord Damodara, just as the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvera, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby, tied with a rope to wooden grinding motor. In the same way, please give me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation. O Lord Damodara, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Mother Meena. So we need volunteer for a single prayer. Hare Krishna. Krishnavan.
Haji, thank you.
Namaste Narasingaya Prahlad Daine Hiranya Kashipu Vakshaha Shilatanka Nakalaye To Narsingo Parato Narsingo Yato yato yamitato narsingo bahir narsingo hridaye narsingo narsingamadim sharanam prapade tava kara kamala vare nakham adbhuta shringa dalita hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tava Kara Kamala Vare Nakham Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsingadev 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 Jaya Narsingadev 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 Jaya Narsingadev Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj 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 Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Guru Devai Guru Devai Guru Devai Jaya Guru Devai Guru Devai Guru Devai Guru Devai Jaya Guru Devai नरसिंह भगवान की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्णा थैंक यू
You Hare Krishna. So let us unmute ourselves and have Krishna Pranam. Vancha
Panchakalpa Trupayasha Kripa Shandhava Evacha
देवच
Pade